The Viking Age lasted from around 750 AD to 1100 AD. Vikings came from Scandinavia. This area includes the modern-day countries of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. The Vikings were known for their skill as warriors, explorers, and traders. They traveled across Europe and beyond. The Vikings were skilled sailors. They built strong and fast ships called longships. Longships allowed them to travel great distances. They raided wealthy settlements for treasure and slaves. The Vikings were also traders. They established trade routes across Europe and Asia. Vikings were known for their distinctive appearance. Men often had long hair and beards. They wore helmets and carried swords and axes. Women wore elaborate jewelry. They often managed the farms and households. The Vikings left a lasting impact on the course of history. They influenced the development of language, culture, and politics in many parts of the world. The Vikings were fierce warriors. They were skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Vikings used a variety of weapons. These included axes, swords, and spears, and the Vikings were also skilled archers. Viking axes were fearsome weapons. They could be used to chop or thrust. Viking swords were double-edged. They were designed for both cutting and thrusting. Spears were used for both throwing and close combat. Vikings were known for their use of the shield wall. The shield wall was a defensive formation. Warriors stood shoulder to shoulder, their shields overlapping. This created a formidable barrier against enemy attacks. Vikings were also skilled horsemen. They used horses for transportation and in battle. Viking raids were often swift and brutal. They took their enemies by surprise. The Vikings were feared throughout Europe for their fighting prowess. The Vikings were skilled explorers. They traveled far and wide in their longships. Vikings reached North America centuries before Christopher Columbus. They established settlements in Iceland, Greenland, and Newfoundland. Vikings sailed east as well as west. They traveled down the rivers of Russia. They reached the Byzantine Empire and the Caspian Sea. The Vikings were traders as well as explorers. They established trade routes across Europe and Asia. They traded in goods such as furs, slaves, and walrus ivory. Viking exploration and trade had a significant impact on the development of Europe. It brought new ideas and goods to the continent. Vikings were driven by a number of factors. These included a search for new land and resources. They also sought wealth and glory. Whatever their motivations, the Vikings were intrepid explorers. They left their mark on the world. The Vikings were not just raiders and explorers, they were also settlers.